Welcome, everyone. If you're watching live, of course, that means it's noon Eastern time on Wednesday, which is always time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can find us in various places. We're on Facebook, the Temptations Beach Facebook page. We're also on the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel and on Twitter at Temptations or X, whatever it is you call it. I'm Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs, which you can check out. He is beach and he is high above. Well, he's not high above. He's on the he's on the USS Temptations today, high on the river, if you will. I don't know. I said the sirens were kind of going off, but they kind of stopped. So I don't know what that means. I hope it's not something bad.
I think I do hear the High Noon Hemp Show alarms going off there. So
Oh, yeah, there it is again. Now I can hear it again. There we go. Heralding
you can vaguely hear them in the background.
beach hour things this week in the world of temptations.
They're good. Welcome everyone to the High Noon Hemp Show. It is true. I am high above the Ohio River. Hello. Welcome everyone. It is Wednesday. It is high noon. So it's the High Noon Hemp Show. The alarms are going off everywhere across the city, letting everybody know that this is what you should be doing today, right now. Is that from Bangladesh? Wow.
Yep.
Thank you for watching from Bangladesh. Once again, proving the High Noon Hemp Show is international. Thanks. But remember, everyone, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. So let's go ahead and do our iHemp Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's get to it.
Here it comes.
Morning, so weird.
It's the technological oddity today. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun, with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. Hey, Stoner, do you know what day it is?
November 6th.
Hemp Day?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why I had to do that today, but I did. I should have been doing that every Wednesday.
That's right.
For the show. Hemp Day. Anyway. All right. Well, let's get right on to the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on the High Noon Hemp Show. So the first one is the Blue Ridge Hemp body and hand lotion. We have put all of the Blue Ridge products on sale, CBD, just so you know. But we're getting into that time of year. We're not quite there. Every time I feel like we might cross over into the coldness, we just the fall summer keeps pulling us back. So I'm sure the hand and body lotion, especially the hand lotion, will be needed somewhat soon. But I feel like we're predicting a mild winter as well. So we'll see how that works out. We just got in a fresh batch of THCA flower. This is strawberry diesel. I don't remember. I feel like it was a 24, maybe 25% THCA. Once again, legally grown under the definition of industrial hemp. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're currently stocked on 3 different strains. We do 3.5 gram packages for about $30, which is a much better deal than most other places. So if you're in need next time, check that out in Northside. Speaking of that, we got in the raw organic papers again. So there was a huge recall on raw organic papers. It probably happened, I'm going to guess it's probably been a year ago, at least 6 months, a year ago, that the huge recall on the organic raws. Somehow they got caught, in fact, not using organic hemp in their organic line of papers, which is a big boo for raw. I am only suspecting that because they have returned that the organic are in fact organic hemp again. I don't think they would make that mistake twice or could afford to, one way or another. So, we come get yourself some of that THCA flower. and get yourself some 1 1/4 raw. You can go classic if you like the classics, or get the organics, which a lot of people have been asking for over the last year or so, since we have not been able to get organics back in. And I think they're actually brought back the organic cones, which we will also have to start not stalking, but stocking, because they're obviously very popular. And once again, for the most part, organic is a soil rating. I am sure that there were no chemicals used on the non-organic raw papers, because that would be a waste of chemicals either way. And the last one you can also use with your THCA flower. This pipe actually has, those are hemp seed inside of it. So it's a liquid pipe. You can put these in your freezer even, and get it nice and cold, get that liquid nice and cold. But those are actually hemp seed floating there in the picture, which we've been carrying these for quite a while. They're pretty neat. So there you have it, 4 from the store. Now, the one from my door is actually, again, 2, dog included. So there's Josie. If you watch the show, you know who Josie is. You've heard her frequently on the show talking to me. But here she is laying with her hemp joint toy, again, made out of hemp material. And then she does actually have a hemp collar on as well. So that's really 2 hemp products from my door, or Josie's door, if you want to look at it like that, then in one way or another. So there you have it on the product spotlight: 4 from the store, 1 from my door. And now,
This brings us to a very blue day, if you will. We're talking about what Beach is wearing. You see some of it now, of course. There's a lot more blue as well. And we'll talk all about it and see it, in fact, in all of its glory in the Beachwear segment. All I have to do is ask Beach one question, and it is, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. In fact, if you're really curious, it's what I was wearing Monday night for the debut of this year's Big Blue season. I'm sure that if you have watched the show at all during college basketball season, you know that I am a huge Kentucky basketball fan. Monday is the day, one of the sports days that I wait for, just one of the days, period. The start of the Kentucky season. This year is going to be, it's going to be really fun because we got a lot of changes going on, but a really great team. So this is what I wore Monday for the debut of the season. On my head, I have my head case 100% hemp Kentucky hat, made by a Kentucky fan, and very limited edition in these hats. Also, I don't wear this one very often, and that's why it's in such great condition, because it's probably 20 years old at least. My shirt is a hemp hoodlam custom made by one of my sales representatives back in the day. He actually bought this shirt off the rack and then had it printed with the Hemptucky 95. 95 is the year we opened. On the back, it says Hemptations. It's got, you can see it on my chest there. It's got the leaf that has all the different reasons that we support and love hemp. And then what's kind of funny is it also has that little swoosh over there is actually, it is a Nike swoosh that we made into what looked like a handpipe. So when the Oxford store, which has been closed for, oh my gosh, I can't believe 15 years now or so. When we went from the second store in Oxford, Ohio to the sidewalk, we actually moved one store over, but we went into an athletic store. So he did athletic shoes and stuff like that. So he had a big, huge Nike swoosh on the window. And instead of just removing the entire swoosh, we just cut the swoosh a little bit on the ends and the top and made it look like a handpipe. And so that's actually the little swoosh over there above the hemp. But it's again, this sales rep was probably one of my favorites because he personalized almost every gift that he ever gave me. It was really cool. This is like one of my favorite shirts. A, because it supports Kentucky basketball in a sense, and two, just because it's awesome. Anyway, my jeans, speaking of Kentucky, are Kentucky Hemp Outfitters, going with the theme of Kentucky today. And then, of course, in my pocket there, you see my Green Springs Technology pen, as always. I've got a pair of Hemptopia briefs underneath it all. See my Canna Leaf socks in the big blue color, and then getting me around are my Saucony Jazz. And of course, if you don't know, the Jazz line of Sauconys is vegan, so those are actually vegan shoes. So if you're wondering, Beach, what are you wearing for the Kentucky Wright State game to start the Kentucky season? Now you know what I wore. We won by 41. If anyone out there didn't know, it was as well we should, because they're a smaller school. The true test will be Duke. Boo! But you can't spell Duke without UK, I always say. So that's coming up. I'll keep you abreast to how my Kentucky Wildcats are doing. Because I know everyone that watches the show is just as interested in Kentucky basketball as they are hemp, just like me.
Unfortunately, I did not get the other email.
Yeah, that's okay, because we won't have a commercial. I don't know that I had too many picks for the news this week anyway, so we're just gonna jump right into the news. And if I did have a pick for something, I will just visualize it for you.
Yes.
I have reported before about how Avocado having a hemp mattress. They're pretty expensive, $2,500, $3,500. But they're an all natural, earth friendly mattress company. Well, apparently, Gwyneth Paltrow, who owns a company called Goop, and I don't know what Goop is, honestly, she teamed up with Avocado to make a $58,000 organic hemp mattress.
Wow.
And again, just part of it's hemp. But this was her personalized, and again, because every ingredient, every fiber in the mattress is organic. That's why, all in all, it costs so much. The ones that are out there for the consumers to buy, which again do have a layer of hemp in them, are they're all more natural based, but they're not organic versions of the flax. There's flax and cotton and hemp and all kinds of stuff, because they're actually a mattress made of layers of different fiber instead of springs. A springless mattress. I picture it, on a large scale being just like how they make skateboards or snowboards, or skis. There are multiple layers of different materials that then give you the best end result for what you're looking for. So that's quite interesting. Good for Gwen. I'm sure Gwyneth can afford it, so why wouldn't she sleep on a $60,000 mattress? For those of us that can't quite afford that, but maybe looking for at least an earth-friendly, better mattress, I do look into Avocado the next time. They're not cheap. They're not, like I said, but I think as far as when you're comparing materials and whatnot to cheap mattresses or inexpensive mattresses, most mattresses are not cheap either. There are maybe some that are more inexpensive than others, obviously, but you could definitely spend $3,000 on a mattress that doesn't have any hemp on it very easily, and probably a bunch of chemicals and material that you don't want to be sleeping on. So just a thought. So again, check out Avocado. If you're in the need for a new mattress and you want to go eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, human body friendly. So research of cannabinoid studies from 2000 to 2024. So again, they actually researched and put all the studies that were out there, or a lot of studies were out there to get this data. Says that the transdermal application of CBD led to a more pronounced reduction in sharp pain. Study looked at neuropathic pain, which is caused by the damage to or dysfunction of the nervous system, and often associated with diabetes, HIV/AIDS, shingles, MS, and even side effects from certain pharmaceutical drugs or radiation therapy causes this nerve pain. And I have had customers ask me if I knew about CBD and nerve pain, and I didn't have a lot of knowledge on that, because we know that CBD acts as an anti-inflammatory, and so that's how it works with a lot of pain relief. Nerve pain is obviously something much different than what's going on there, but obviously CBD has a very positive. And especially when used, obviously, as a topical. So what they were using is the patches. We do have patches, I believe, but I think any topical, you would get the same relief. When you use CBD as a topical, it stays where you put it. So it doesn't ever work its way into the bloodstream and running through your endocannabinoid system that way. It just stays where you place it on the body. So if you got a sore elbow and you put it on it, that it stays there, and that's why it works so effectively as a topical. I did just recently see an article, and again, the lack of research by the people that were doing this article. Again, it was very positive about using CBD as a topical, but then it went into talking about the endocannabinoid receptor system and all of this, where once again it does not make it into the bloodstream when you use it as a topical. So it stays right there. And then it was talking about how it can work as you can get the anxiety relief out of it too, but you're not going to get anxiety relief out of a topical. You're just going to get pain relief wherever you put it. And this is the testimony of my customers. I am not a doctor, and I'm not saying anything medical. I have a customer I'm back in the stores again, and there isn't a day that goes by that a customer doesn't come in and talks about how much relief they get from the CBD products that we sell. So there you have it. It may help if you have some type of nerve pain. Maybe try a CBD topical. So this is an interesting one. Tennessee is effectively making THCA illegal by saying the amount of THC in a product or the flower is judged after you smoke it. Okay. And so I talked about this because someone else was trying to do this in a bill somewhere. Well, but apparently Tennessee their government body has basically said that we are now going to test the THC content after the flower is smoked. And then again, if you come up with that 0.3% or more THC, then apparently that's going to make this particular industrial hemp illegal, which again is, they just announced this. It's supposed to go into effect on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, if you didn't know, but it is already getting challenged legally. And so I don't believe the government agency has the authority to actually do this. And so we'll see. I think this is one that's probably going to get challenged and hold up for the consumer, so to speak, and not the government. we'll see. I don't even know. I mean, I guess that's going to take a whole different new machine. Somebody out there, I guess, has designed a machine that can tell you how much THC is in the flower after you smoke it. I don't, you know, I'm not sure how that's even possible, but I'm sure there's a machine somewhere that they can figure all that out. Either way, so we'll see how that turns out. We got a month and a half before it goes to an effect, and we'll see if it. I don't know if it'll get ruled on before then. Best case scenario is they put a stay on it, which means the current laws hold effective until the courts can decide whether it was in fact legal for the Tennessee government to do this or not. We'll see what happens. So if you are using a protein powder to gain muscle mass, I did find out that hemp powder, and this is basically what you're looking for, is the leucine, apparently LEUCINE content of the protein powder. Now, plant-based wise, it's harder to get the leucine, according to the article that I read. There's only about 5% leucine in hemp protein powder, whereas your whey, which is a dairy product, actually, is about 10%. So if you are using a hemp protein powder to try to gain muscle mass, they say you might just have to increase that. And again, just increase, eat a couple tablespoons of hemp in the morning. I can't, I'll have to figure out, I've never seen leucine percentages or content when it comes to the industrial hemp seed. But again, it's just going to, join the long list of things that are in the seed that are great for humans, from proteins to omega-3s to magnesium, vitamins, minerals, all those things that make hemp seed such a nutritionally valuable food product for humans, period, whether you're trying to build muscle mass or not. So, and it's becoming more and more popular, not only as a smoothie additive, but a protein powder additive, especially for people that want a plant-based protein powder. All right. So an article titled "Skip the Melatonin and Try These 7 All-Natural Sleep Aids Instead." Number one is, of course, CBD. And they went on to say that many studies suggest that CBD is very effective in promoting sleep and decreasing anxiety. And so it's that anti-anxiety aspect, I think, of CBD that helps promote that sleep to begin with. I've said it a lot because it's true. Our customers buy CBD for 3 main reasons: pain relief, anxiety, or a sleep aid. And again, I think the reason it works, because it works so well with anxiety and, helps with that calmness. I think that is just one reason why it helps with sleep issues. Most people end up getting, from what I've seen, and I know one study showed this, most people end up getting less sleep, but better sleep. That was a study that I reported on probably a year or two ago. I don't remember, but again, they were, they were waking up earlier, but they were feeling more rested, like the sleep was better after using CBD. I usually suggest using CBD in edible form if you are dealing with sleep issues, especially if you don't have any problems going to sleep, because with the edible, it takes a little bit longer to get running through the system, and therefore kind of adds to the longevity and the benefit of getting it when you're sleeping. All right. So I've been talking about how pissed off I am at the whole marijuana industry, because they seem to be at war with the hemp industry and the hemp farming. And again, it doesn't. It's not that they appear to be; they blatantly are. I mean, they are there are big players in the marijuana industry that are blatantly lobbying against a lot of industrial hemp things. Florida. That was a big battle in Florida with the legalization. Of course, not only in Florida, it's kind of shady because you got to get 60% of the vote to pass a voter initiative, which they didn't do again. But the big issue in Florida was the fact that DeSantis, and not a huge fan, other than the fact that he really stepped up in defense of industrial hemp, even the intoxicating hemp stuff by association, as he was talking bad or saying going against the legalization of marijuana. And so the rumor was, and I don't think it was a rumor either because they tracked the money, is that the actual hemp industry was lobbying DeSantis to keep things status quo with industrial hemp, and then try to keep the marijuana industry out. And they would not have been as successful if it would have actually been by a majority. I didn't see the percentage, but I guarantee it was. I mean, the first time they did this, it was like 57%. I'm really surprised it didn't pass. And I feel like it didn't pass, unfortunately, possibly because of how big the Trump turnout was, obviously, everywhere. And so I think that could have had an effect on why they didn't legalize in Florida, even getting 60%, because I was expecting them to get to 60%, in all honesty. But apparently they didn't. But a big part of that was, again, DeSantis lobbying against the legalization, but verbally coming out about being not going to do anything else. I think they're going to, whatever has been done in the industrial hemp world in Florida, it's going to be done. And so, and again, they did like packaging stuff. Like you can't package hemp gummies in a package that looks like it's appealing to kids. It's back to that kind of stuff. I think they do have age requirements now, possibly even for CBD. But I do believe that as far as I know, the intoxicating hemps are still safe, even if they are possibly aged down there. And so that's about to be a massive business in Florida because legalization didn't pass. So, but after all that ranting and raving, the whole reason I brought all of that up is because I finally saw one of the best headlines in an article that I've ever seen, which says, "Why can't weed be friends?" Again, I don't understand why all the cannabis industries should support all the cannabis industries. And, we should be moving forward, not fighting each other and moving backwards, because that's ridiculous. So anyway, why can't weed be friends? All right.
The amendment right now sits at 55.9%, by the way.
Wow. So it actually went down from the first time they tried, which was, I don't know, it's like 10 years ago or something at least. It's been a while since that first one that I noticed, and that's where I learned about this 60% thing. So they actually went down in support in Florida. And once again, somehow, I do believe it's directly related to voter turnout.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'll blame it on. Although, in this sense, I can't believe that I would say it, but maybe it's no. Anybody who is for cannabis not being legal is a prohibitionist. So even though I hate this stupid marijuana versus hemp legality battle in this country right now, you want all cannabis to be legal. Anyway, so according to Dr. Monisha Bonete, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, she's a quintuple board certified physician.
Wow.
That's a big deal. I'm sure. I don't know what that really means, but it sounds big dealish. But she is also a longevity expert. Okay. And this is a quote from her. I enjoy regularly a coconut yogurt topped with hemp seeds and blueberries for breakfast. Hemp seeds are an excellent source of omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acids in an optimal ratio. You've often heard me say that, supporting heart health and reducing inflammation. 6 tablespoons contain 6,703 milligrams of ALA, and that's the good fatty acids, that omega 6, omega 3, and whatnot. I feel like it even has the omega 9, even though it might be just a little, but it does have, because my understanding is hemp seed contains all of the essential fatty acids. And I do believe there are more than just the 6 and 3, which are the most important ones, apparently, for human health. And again, it's that ratio of omega 3 to omega 6 is supposed to be the perfect ratio for human health as well. All right. Well, I finally found out why all of a sudden Texas has a D8 problem again. Okay, so it's probably 2 years ago at least that I reported on how the state tried to make D8, tried to ban D8, went all the way to the Supreme Court in Texas. They said, nope, you can't do that. And so D8 remained legal. So the reason that D8 has a problem once again in Texas after all these years of already going through the court battles, drum roll please, it's the marijuana industry. This time the medical marijuana industry. The medical marijuana industry in Texas is supposedly losing so much business to over-the-counter Delta 8 that is why they are trying to now once again ban Delta 8 in Texas. And so, obviously the medical marijuana is controlled by the state there, so they're trying to control their own interests in this one. I find it very hard to believe that they would try again after it's already been to the Supreme Court. But once again, the medical marijuana industry is huge. I don't care what state it is. And of course, if it's the medical marijuana industry in Texas, it's bigger than most because everything's bigger in Texas. Just ask the Texan, they'll tell you. And so, it's an interesting. So we're going to see what really happens here. But that's why all of a sudden, Delta 8's got somehow is starting to get a bad rap in Texas again. It's the medical marijuana industry is all upset because once again, people can get the relief from cannabis, over the counter, 100% legal, industrial hemp that they can get going through all the hoops and ladders and all the things you got to go through to get the marijuana, which is not federally legal, but only legal in the states. Again, this is these are anti-consumerism attacks. Anytime that the marijuana industry goes after the hemp industry because it's a threat to them, that's anti-consumerism. It should not even be legal, as far as I know. And it sure shouldn't be supported by our politicians. Shouldn't be able to lobby a politician with a bunch of money to say to make industrial hemp byproducts illegal because the marijuana industry is threatened by them. I mean, that's like, in my opinion, that's like making non-alcoholic beer illegal because people are consuming that, and the beer industry is like, again, it's like it's anti-consumerism. It's not fair. It's not fair to the hemp consumers, period. And in this capitalist consumerist country that we live in, and I'm not saying bad things about either one, because I am a capitalist. and I rely on consumerism. I support consumerism more than I maybe support capitalism. But I mean, I'm a business owner in retail, and that makes me a capitalist, by definition. I'll call myself a hemp capitalist, and maybe that'll, take off all the negative connotations that capitalist has. But, that is by definition, it's the truth. That's economics, one way or another. So, all right. So there are two. These are interesting. Two separate government grants that have just been issued to universities. Okay, and they're one is going to try to differentiate the two, and these are in vape products, by the way, to differentiate the two forms of the cannabis plant from each other in vape products. All right. Scientifically, my head says this is a waste of money. I would have just taken the money and told them. Science says you're not going to find a difference. Okay, because once you get the hemp-based THC into a form to put it into a vape, it's in the exact same form as THC from marijuana. Okay, it's in the distillate or isolate, or I think it's distillate when they put it into the vape. Okay, but it's basically an isolate because they have isolated it down just to THC. They've taken out all the other stuff anyway, the CBD and the terpenes and the alcohols and the sugars and all the other things that make up the cannabis flower and what you can get out of it. And once again, this is legal because we're allowed that 0.3%. So if you grow enough industrial hemp flower, you can still get quite a bit of hemp-based THC. But the only difference in form is in the flower. It's the only difference in form. Once again, once you take it down to that point where you're going to put it in a gummy, you're going to put it in a vape, you're going to put it in a tincture, you're going to put it in a topical, okay? Once you do that, it is the exact same chemical molecule. All right, when you break it down to THC, Delta 9, I don't care if it comes from industrial hemp. I wouldn't care if it came from raspberry trees if they produced it. Okay, the chemical compound is exactly the same once you get it to its smallest form, which is an isolate or its only form. Then it's exactly the same whether you get it from. That's why you can't tell the difference, which is kind of funny because they're trying to do the same thing. And one of the reasons is for accuracy and product labels. And basically, once again, what they're going to be able to say there is the fact that if I say I have THC carts, then that has to be THC. And it doesn't make a difference, one way or another. And so it's going to be kind of interesting. And the other, which is also on the same line, is to develop analytical methods to distinguish the difference between hemp and marijuana products. Okay. Once again, science tells me cannot be done. The only form that you can tell the difference is in the flower. The only form that you can tell the difference. Because just like I just explained, once you get it to that point where you're putting it in a cart or a disposable vape or a lotion or whatever, it's the exact same chemical compound as when you get it from marijuana. You will not be able to tell the difference. I think that's another reason why, in a sense, the marijuana industry is getting all upset because the industrial hemp industry is able to supply everybody that doesn't have the flower or has an issue with being able to, whether they can sell the flower or not, can have these products. And you can, this is the whole issue that caused the whole recall with marijuana products in Missouri is that, and I reported on this 6 months ago or so, when they ran out of THC, everything has to be made in the state. So in order to sell a THC product in the state of Missouri, it has to be made in the state of Missouri. So they ran out of THC. And what did they do? They got THC. They bought THC from the industrial hemp part of it and put that in their products. And they got in trouble because they didn't actually get their THC from marijuana, not because it wasn't effective and not because it didn't give their customers what they wanted, but because it was technically under the state policy, it was illegal to get their THC from industrial hemp, which is once again backwards, but just showing how it's the exact same thing. In that form, it's the exact same thing. When you come into Temptations and you buy a THC cart, it's no different than the one you would get at the dispensary. No different. We've got tincture gummies, all that. Temptations brand, grown in Kentucky, made in Kentucky, processed, all that. And again, scientifically, and I think that this study will back me up. We'll see what the results show. But, everything in my brain scientifically says nobody will be able to come up with anything that will be able to tell the difference between THC extracted from industrial hemp or THC extracted from marijuana. And that is why all these bans usually don't hold up, because it's all legal when it comes from industrial hemp federally. And even the states that made industrial hemp law, followed the federal guidelines, which basically only say 0.3% or less of THC, Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol. So, that's why and in fact, I think possibly Iowa, so far, Iowa has been the only state that's been successful. And I think it's still playing out there, but I think they were and again, only because the judge did not put a stay on the ban. So we'll see how it ends up. But, so far, I'd say 9 times out of 10, every state that's tried to ban an industrial hemp extract, it's gotten turned over at the highest courts. And so, all right, this is kind of fun. So Hanmules, I hope I'm saying that correct as well. Hanmules, which is a 400-plus-year-old paper mill in Germany, is returning to a hemp stock as one of their blends. Now it's going to be a 60% hemp, 40% cotton. But what's interesting is the cotton part is actually waste material. And so it's waste from, I think they said, the clothing industry. This is interesting. Waste from the clothing industry and waste from the oil industry. So I guess that's cottonseed oil. That's the and so maybe that makes sense. The actual fiber part, I would guess, I would think you'd be able to get the cottonseed out of the seed one way or another. Yeah, there you go. And then still have the fiber to make the clothing or whatever out of. But anyway, it's kind of interesting how they're using waste byproduct for the cotton. And so, it says, and I never had the numbers on this, but this is once again staggering. Okay. You put a tree and you put an acre of trees and an acre of hemp plants beside each other for paper. Okay, now we've always known that the comparison basically said 1 acre of hemp equals 4 acres of trees, 6 months to grow for the hemp, 15 to 20 years for the trees, and this is for paper pulp. Okay. Now the reason that hemp paper was so inferior, or cotton paper, or tree paper, wood pulp paper was so inferior to hemp paper when they first had it, which, the whole yellow journalism, paper was deteriorating quickly, and it's even still true today in the paper industry. With the wood pulp paper industry, it does not last as long. And here's why. Hemp has almost 85% usable cellulose compared to 30% of wood pulp. So 85% of the hemp plant can go to the paper, but only 30% of the tree pulp can go to the paper. And then you got 70% of the tree that, who knows what. I'm sure they don't waste it. But you're almost tripling the amount of cellulose in that 6 months as it takes for 15 to 20 years. I don't even I mean, it just seems preposterous that we would have ever made paper out of trees to begin with. And billions of acres of trees have been cut down, and this is only 100 years old. This 150 years old, maybe. I bet it's not even 150 as far as paper making from wood pulp. For 2,000 years, it was hemp and maybe some other materials, not wood pulp. And then all of a sudden, it was wood pulp, and it's still inferior to what we should be doing. And so, this is going to be great for the paper company, or for the paper world, because again, if they can pump out reams of computer paper that is exactly like wood pulp computer paper, it's going to be a game maker, and hopefully the paper making places all over the world will start shifting back to a more hemp based paper either way. Also, the lignin content, and again, lignin is like it's one of the only waste products when you break down hemp for any purpose. So, whether you're using the grain or the fiber or the bast, the outer stalk, which we use in the hempcrete, which is technically called shiv. At the end of the day, when it runs through all these machines, which are basically just big decortators, that lignin is left over. Okay. That's one of the byproducts I've talked about on the show before that we really don't have a huge market for yet. But, once we could find a big market for that byproduct, that's just another thing that this whole plant can bring. There's, all in all, there needs to be zero waste at the end of the day. Even if you pull that hemp plant up by the root, there's zero reason that you shouldn't use 100% of it from the root to the flower for something. It should not be. Again, in Canada, I talked about this. The food industry, the grain industry, in Canada burns the stalks at the end of the year. That's total waste, and that's clothing, that's houses, that's there's so many things that stock can be used for, and at the end of the year they look at that as a waste byproduct, because all they want is the grain. That's the grain industry. They've built that such a large grain industry. Now they are slowly kind of coming back in a circle, and I think starting to try to work out getting that stalk into the appropriate hands. And so I think we're going to see more fiber and construction material coming out of the Canadian area when it comes to hemp, only because they're becoming more conscious about the fact that it shouldn't be waste to begin with. But I think this was the easiest thing for them to do. I have some of that hemp stock from way back in the day, and it was actually like 20 years ago, brought back into the United States across the border on a bet, and he bet his friends a beer or a 6-pack of their favorite beer that he could legally drive cannabis plants across the border, and he had a whole truckload of them. But he had to go to one of the big grain farms, and once again, because it was waste, they were like, help yourself. And he had to go, and he didn't still have to like strip the waste to make sure that he didn't have seeds, because that was going to get him in the most trouble, he thought, coming across through customs, the seeds, which would be true, because technically that would have been considered marijuana at the time. And so he brought a whole truckload, even the decent amount of seeds after he cleaned this stuff up. And again, they were just gonna burn it. It was just out in a big pile, ready to be burned at the end of the year. But he successfully brought them back here. I ended up with some of those not too long ago because we ended up on the same stage, trying to get hemp legal in 2013. The Ohio Rights Group.
Yep.
Anyway, so more hemp paper. That's what we need. And here's yet another reason. And I have talked about this, but I hadn't seen the numbers on this one either. So 1 hectare of hemp can absorb 8 to 22 tons of carbon per year, depending on the cultivar, I suppose, which is compared to 6 tons of wood. So a tree, the maximum amount of carbon that trees can take in on 1 hectare is 6 tons. Okay, the minimum amount of carbon that hemp can take in, again, 1 hectare, is 8 tons. And there are some, obviously, and I would only guess that it's the size of the leaf. So if you have a hemp plant that has really big hemp leaves, I'm guessing they probably absorb more carbon than, say, ones that have really skinny. Because some of the sativas, the leaves are not even half an inch wide. The pistils, I should say, not the leaves, but the parts, not the pistils either. The leaflets, I think, is what they're called, are very skinny. So obviously they would not breathe in as much carbon. But indica leaves, I've seen some of those that were, each little leaflet on the leaf could be 2 inches wide. So I can see how different hemp cultivars may absorb different amounts of carbon. But, we're talking about some of them absorbing 3 times the amount of carbon as trees. Once again, I'm not saying we should cut down more trees because of this. I'm saying we should grow more hemp and stop cutting down trees and let it all come out. Let the trees do their job that they need to do. Replace all those products that hemp can from the trees as well, and then get all that carbon out. It's unfortunate that, it's the science of all this that makes it so positive, because it seems like the people that don't want to save the planet don't want to believe in science either. And, which is frustrating. Like, you put this in front of someone. Like, how could you be, anti-climate change so to speak. And then see this and just think, well, we should just do this anyway, even if it's well, say it's not an issue, but it just makes sense that we should do this. So yet another reason, and we've known for a long time that hemp sequesters more carbon in its short lifetime than trees do in their entire lifetimes. So, this is the scientific proof that actually showed that there is some hemp that can literally take out 3.5 times the amount of carbon in 6 months. And the great thing is I truly believe that every year on this planet we're growing more and more hemp and cutting down less and less trees. I know that I'm a realist, and so saying that, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's true about the hemp part. I don't know if it's true about the tree part. I don't know that we're cutting down any less trees. I just want that to be true. I'm not usually so optimistic, but I really feel like we live in a world where the goal is to cut down less trees, even if we're not doing it. And we can definitely do that by growing more hemp and replacing all of the things that we make from trees now, whether it's wood products. We can make 2x4s. Hempwood in Kentucky makes 2x4s now, 4x4s, flooring, um, shelving, all of that stuff out of hemp instead of wood. Um, like I said, paper. I mean, that's a huge reason that trees are continuously getting cut down is for the paper industry. Um, we can stop doing that just by paper, for paper. So, um, I always said in my speeches, and I still believe that it's true, that we can, if we have enough hemp, if we're growing enough hemp, we can stop cutting down trees. We can stop drilling for oil. And it's pretty close because we can replace 60 to 70% of the oil based products with hemp products. I think we can replace 90 to 95% of the wood products with hemp. I really truly believe that there are very little wood products that you can't make out of hemp. Now, can we make a 2x4 out of hemp that is as structurally sound as a 2x4 made out of wood, which is reliable for wood? That's once again why you probably can't build a house with a hemp wood 2x4 frame if that frame is the load bearing frame. Just like you can't build a house out of hempcrete, you can't you build the load bearing walls of a house out of hempcrete right now because we have there has to be an officially acceptable load bearing hempcrete for that, which has been developed, but we have not seen hit the market yet. And I think the same would be true with 2x4s. We have to prove that a hempwood 2x4 is as structurally sound as a tree based 2x4. Then how cool would it be to build a 2x4 hemp house and then use the hempcrete to insulate it, and then we're truly building a hemp house. When that frame now has to be made out of wood, it's almost counterintuitive to the hempcrete that we put in it for the insulation, but that's only because that wood is those frames are that 18 inches apart, and maybe that's all it takes. But I still feel like there's got to be more to the strength of the wood, which I'm sure it is. But those frames are legally load bearing frames. So, but we're like I've said almost on every show, we're far away, but we're in the right. We keep going in the right direction. The more hempcrete houses that are built, the more people look into that. The more hemp wood is developed. Again, there's only one real hemp wood company, Hempwood, down in Kentucky, that's doing this. Cost is still a little high because they're the only ones doing this, and that the technology is up, and I realize that. I feel like the more the hemp that's grown, hopefully that cost will come down for them, and they can provide it at a lower cost. And again, that's the big thing with hemp across the board, whether it's a hemp shirt or hempcrete. And I think hempcrete is a little easier because that cost is. I think you can, purchase the same amount of hemp shiv herd for the hempcrete, probably for the same cost it would cost you for the sand to make it anyway. And so that cost may not be actually as different, but hemp fiber is more expensive than all the other fibers because supply is low. Demand is up there, supply is low. That drives costs. We need supply to be high, so costs and we need supplies to be high and demand to be high, and then costs go down. That's economics as well. So we're moving that way. We're still not there. That's why we come here every week at high noon on Wednesday.
That's right.
To keep talking about moving that direction and all the good stuff that's moving in that direction. Well, I don't have any events. I'll go ahead and throw it out there, even though we're probably a month away. We will be doing the medical marijuana meetup, I believe, and I'll get confirmation on that the first Tuesday of December. It usually runs from like 8 to 10, 8 to 11. I don't know if we'll have a venue change or not after the Halloween party debacle. But we'll see. But I'll keep everybody abreasted on that as we get closer to it. Did not have any questions. Again, my thoughts were clearly illustrated throughout the show, so I don't have any thoughts for you. That being said, thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it. If you watch live all the way from Bangladesh, we sure appreciate you watching. And if you're watching live here in Cincinnati, we sure appreciate it. If you're watching somewhere else, anywhere else, on the YouTube stream, the Jedi Hemp channel, or here at the Hemptations Beach Facebook page, or wherever you may, we appreciate that too. And remember, we'll be back next Wednesday. Okay. This is what you really have to remember. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Happy Hemptations.
See you all next week.